fund of tariffs, making it one of the largest companies to sue the current administration. We'll discuss this and more of today's top stories. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also discuss Proposition 15, a constitutional amendment that formally adds parental rights, including decisions about a child's care, custody, and upbringing into the state constitution.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. Plus, we'll also chat with Houston-born singer-songwriter CJ Emmons, who will discuss his career and his upcoming one-man show, I'm Freaking Talented.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Pentagon's top independent watchdog has released its findings on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's use of Signal to communicate sensitive operational details. The report concludes that Hegseth violated Pentagon policies. It states that, quote, the Secretary sent non-public DoD information identifying the quantity and strike times of manned U.S. aircraft over hostile territory over an unapproved, unsecure network approximately 2 to 4 hours before the execution of those strikes. The report goes on to say, quote, using a personal cell phone to conduct official business and send non-public DoD information through Signal risks potential compromise of sensitive DoD information, which could cause harm to DoD personnel and mission objectives, end quote. NPR's Greg Myrie has more on who was on that Signal chat.
He was in contact with essentially all top national security officials, the CIA director, director of national intelligence, the national security advisor, the Secretary of State. And as we noted, what none of them knew was that Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic, was inadvertently included and was reading the messages as well.
NPR's Greg Myrie. We should note NPR CEO Catherine Marr chairs the board of the Signal Foundation. After a 5-year investigation into who put pipe bombs near the Democratic and Republican committee headquarters hours before the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, the FBI believes it has its man. 3 sources familiar with the matter confirmed to NPR that agents made an arrest. One of the sources says the suspect was picked up in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Woodbridge, Virginia. A powerful advisory committee at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention convenes a 2-day meeting today to consider controversial changes to how doctors vaccinate children against dangerous infectious diseases. NPR's Rob Stein has details.
The CDC advisors will consider dropping a recommendation that all babies routinely get vaccinated against hepatitis B at birth. Proponents of making the change argue the shots should be delayed because the virus spreads through sex and drug use. But most experts say babies can catch the virus in other ways, increasing the risk for liver disease, failure, and cancer. The committee will also discuss changing how pediatricians inoculate children against more than a dozen other infectious diseases, including measles, whooping cough, and polio. Most public health experts say any changes are unnecessary and would be dangerous. Rob Stein, NPR News.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow was down 43 points at 47,839. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Massive traffic delays are expected soon on I-10. Beginning tonight, the Texas Department of Transportation is shutting down the ramp connecting the Katy Freeway eastbound into downtown towards I-45. That closure is expected to last 2 years through 2028. Crews are rebuilding the elevated connector. Also beginning tonight, drivers are moving from the North Freeway southbound to the Katy Freeway westbound. Will have to find another route. That closure is in place until the middle of next year. The biggest disruption, though, is coming this weekend when the I-10 westbound main lanes from I-45 to Taylor Street will close. That shutdown will last through 5 a.m. on Monday. The Galveston County Health District is reporting confirmed cases of avian influenza in local birds. News 88.7's Juliana Washburn tells us more.
Earlier this week, the Galveston County Health District reported a total of 27 bird deaths. Of the 27, at least 4 birds have come back with confirmed positive tests for bird flu. Health officials asked the public to avoid contact with sick or dead birds and instead report unusual bird deaths to the Galveston County Animal Resource Center. Dr. Philip Kaiser is the local health authority for Galveston County.
This is something that you just have to be cautious about. And if you do follow these precautions and see things that are abnormal, please, call it in and let professionals come and help you take care of it.
Health officials say there is no evidence of human-to-human transmission and the risk to the general public remains low. From the Galveston County Bureau, I'm Juliana Washburn, News 88.7.
Roughly 50 people have been displaced from an apartment complex that suffered from a 2-alarm fire early this morning. The blaze began around 2:30 in the morning at the Jackson Square Apartments in southwest Houston. KHOU reports that no injuries have been reported, but 20 units in total were evacuated. Crews said they faced significant issues fighting the fire because the nearest hydrant was not working and there were not active hydrants on the property. An investigation is currently underway to determine how the blaze began. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's best interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Hello. Hello, Celeste.
Hello, Frank.
Hello, I'm here
Ernie.
too.
Thank you for joining us today on Hello, Houston. It is gloomy out, but you know what? We are here, and we want to thank you for joining us
here
on 88.7, or whether you're watching us on YouTube.
A lot are already.
We are going to have a great show today.
I call it a raw day. It's
yeah, I've
just
noticed you saying that
raw.
a couple times.
It's just, there's nothing good about it. Oh, well,
Yeah.
some people like it. Actually, we stayed in bed until like 9 o'clock this morning.
I've got to say,
Coffee, dogs, kind of just.
the romantic in me loves a gloomy day, cup
Yeah.
of coffee. Were you in your morning nook, Frank?
No, I was in my morning bed.
Oh, okay. Well,
No, we didn't get out of bed.
What
It's
about
like,
you,
why
Ernie?
get out of bed if you don't have to?
I always, regardless of the weather, I stay in bed as long as humanly possible every single day.
What a luxury you
That's
two
our Ernie.
live.
That's our Ernie.
What a
No,
luxury. I
it's
was
not
up
a
at
luxury.
4:15 a.m.
Right, well, yes, granted, I'm just going to bed at the time you're waking up. But it's always looking at the cameras downstairs on the floor where my mom is to see is she up or is she still in bed? Because if she's still in bed, I can stay in bed and it's try and stay as quiet as possible. Because once she's up, like with kids, your day has begun.
Hey, respect to you. You are a full-time caregiver.
Yes.
Hey, that's a
Yes.
lot. It's a lot.
We play the cards that are dealt us.
Well,
Yes.
you play them very well because a lot of people wouldn't.
Well,
Good for you.
today-
How is your mom?
She's doing good. She's been cold, and I'm really lazy. I think I mentioned this yesterday about putting out the electric blanket. I want to know if it's going to be cold enough to worry about going and plugging it in. So I've just been laying more and more blankets.
Yeah,
on
we're
her
kind
bed.
of 60s all the way through the weekend for high. For it's just not going to change much. Chances of rain today and tomorrow. They get out of here by Saturday morning. Dickens on the Strand should be about the same. Gloomy is good for Dickens because you feel like you're in London.
You feel like you're in London,
Yes.
right?
And you want it cool. I can't get. You really want it cold. It's not going to be cold, but it'll be in the 60s in Galveston Saturday and Sunday. And let me tell you, I've been at Dickens when it was 80. It's no fun.
Yeah, you want
No.
it cold because you got to put on that Victorian garb that you wear and walk around.
And
on
you
the
know
streets.
those ladies, they make most of their dresses.
It's crazy.
I mean, they don't just rent them like I would do.
And tomorrow
they
on the
make them and they're
show-
authentic. They use the right colors, the right fabrics, the right everything. No, they're terrific.
And tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Ollie Dickens.
Ollie is the great grandson
grandson.
of Charles Dickens.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
great.
There's a lot of those. He must have been like Genghis Khan. There's so many
There are a lot of
Dickenses out
relatives.
there.
Yes.
Yes. That family tree spreads far and wide.
It
Or at least
does.
people claim to be one. I don't
Speaking
know.
of tree, I'm hoping the weather holds up for Saturday night. So we
Yes.
can light the mayor can light the downtown Houston
But you
tree.
have a big role. What are you, the MC?
I I have no idea what my role is. I'll find out tomorrow. I'm the MC, but trust me, they got Brian McKnight and they got the mayor. They really don't need the Ernie. They got what they need.
Everybody needs a little Ernie in their life. Come on.
Yes. We've got the weather. We've got the headlines. We got Celeste. We're ready to go.
Okay.
Thank you, Ernie. Costco, the retail giant, is suing the Trump administration. Yes, you heard that right. Costco wants its money back that it paid this year if the Supreme Court rules President Trump's implementation of tariffs was unlawful. And it is now one of the largest companies to sue the Trump administration over tariffs. The Supreme Court is weighing the future of President Trump's tariffs on nearly all imports. Justices seemed skeptical about the tariffs' legality during last month's oral arguments. Lower courts had previously found that Trump had improperly used emergency economic powers to set most of the new levies. Dozens of companies across the industries have filed lawsuits to seek refunds in the event that the Supreme Court finds Trump's tariffs illegal. The list includes makeup giant Revlon, canned foods maker Bumblebee, and Kawasaki, which makes motorcycles and more. In its suit filed with the U.S. Court of International Trade, Costco did not specify how much it has already paid in tariffs, but the retail giant worries that even if the Supreme Court eventually unravels Trump's tariff regime, it may not be able to recoup all that money. Now is the time to join us on Hello Houston. What are your thoughts on Costco suing the president? Should they get their money back? Now is the time to call 713-440-8870. You can also send us a text.
Frank is going to help us through this because when you hear the story, what we hear from the administration, what we've even heard from folks on our show is, we're getting all this money from foreign countries for tariffs. So then why in the world would Costco be saying they need their money back? Correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. When the product comes from one of these tariffed countries into the country,
right,
the tariff is an amount added on to the cost of it that the retailer or the consumer pays for, not the country sending it in. Correct. So this tariff money collected is collected from Americans.
Yeah. And let me give you an example. Let's say a widget comes from China, and it's normally $1, and Costco buys it for $1, and they mark it up $2, right? 100% markup to $2 because that's what they're used to doing. And you pay the $2 for the widget and you're happy. All right. So now let's say there's a 50% tariff on that. So now it costs $1.50, right, for Costco. And to go to $3 is not, it's not enough of a markup for them. So they need to mark it up even a little more. They don't just pay the 50 cents. They've got to at least get the 100% markup. So it costs more and more as the tariffs come in.
And part of the problem is a lot of companies then were trying to keep the prices at the same price, and they were eating the tariff cost. And that's why there was concern, how long could that go on? And that's in some way what delayed the inflation feeling of products because companies were trying to compensate for it.
The other problem is Trump has promised all this tariff money to people. Remember, I'm going to give you $2,000. Right. We're going to take this tariff money and we're going to do this and this and this with it. And then if the Supreme Court says, oh, no, you have to give it back, well, that's why Costco's concerned. Well, where's it going to come from? It's not being put in a 401k to make interest so that we can pay it all back later.
When I look at a headline like this, what I think is the most vulnerable are overlooked. And Absolutely. What I mean by that in every aspect, even when it comes to business, because small businesses typically operate on thin profit margins, they have limited cash reserves, and they are the most vulnerable when sudden cost spikes happen, much more vulnerable than large corporations. And those people out there that put up their own money, that every single day are managing maybe 1 to 9 to 10 employees, are literally counting pennies, margins, thin margins, and they can't really do much about going after the president. They can't call up their lawyer and say, hey, I want to sue if this, but yet right. Costco can, Revlon can.
If they do, then that's setting a precedent that then helps all these smaller businesses too. If the courts side with Revlon or Costco, saying, yeah, you're entitled to your money back, then all of these smaller businesses, I believe, can also say, well, then we want our money back too.
Well, and do we get our money back? British Computer Guy saying, is Costco going to give back to the members who've been paying the extra markup?
The people that have eaten up these charges. to me, again, it goes back to the fact that the little guy gets punched and gets hit. And you know what? Sure. Thank you, Costco, for stepping up and doing. But at the end of the day, there are going to be hundreds of small businesses that shut down because of bad policy.
Yep, right. They already are.
And they already
especially
have
if
started.
they're dependent on China for goods. And I can't tell you how many things come from China. So from almost everything you order, one way or another, China touches it.
And quickly to the low-end consumer, the person that is struggling to make ends meet. When something is up 50 cents on a product and it's only $1, that's a big hit on them when you're going through an entire grocery cart. People who are at the higher echelon of the earning chain, they can absorb it and they don't feel it as well. So not only small business, small consumers, I would call them, they're also being hit the hardest in this.
And even middle-class people can make you're because they can say, well, I'm not going to buy this year because I've got to have money for that. But you're right. If you're at the bottom of the chain, you don't have any room for error.
Right. You're making ends meet or trying to even make ends meet, and now the prices are more expensive because of the tariffs. If you have a thought, a feeling, a reaction to this, please feel free. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
And it trickles into every part of the industry. We look at it from a consumer perspective, but people that have cars, they all of a sudden say, you know what, I'm going to wait on getting my car fixed because you know what, right now things are a little uncertain. We're hitting Thanksgiving. Everything feels a little expensive. So you have the auto industry for small business owners get affected. You have small retailers where they can't drop their prices the way Costco can.
Well, and you do wonder.
Or Walmart.
I like to think that every business person in America is honest, but there may be businesses that say, you know what, I'm not really paying this tariff, but I'm going to tell my customers that I am so that I can mark prices up. And then you have that. I mean, that happens. How many times when we have a big storm do we suddenly have gas prices going up? So there are times
when the market can absorb it, the prices go up. And my problem always is when things settle again, once the market has seen you will pay this for it, they never bring their prices back.
Well, and then what happens if you're having to increase prices to pay your employees? And so now you're paying more for them because they need more money to pay for things in their life.
Right. So
you never get out of that. So you can't suddenly say to somebody, well, I was paying you $15 an hour because of the tariffs. Now I've got to take you down to 13. They're going to be like, wait, what? No.
Right. No, what's going to happen is they're going to say, unfortunately, business is slow right now.
We can't afford you.
We can't afford you. Yeah. So then you have one less person. You have a person without a job. You have a business owner that is sitting there thinking, I've got to make rent. I have to pay my bills. And then you also have the other aspect and the other side of it where employment. I think I read a statistic where small business owners are letting people go at a very high rate.
Yep.
And everything's expensive. You go to the grocery store and it's expensive. And now you have people that are unemployed.
I know we're supposed to move on to our next story, but I'm curious, is it impacting the way you shop for your kids for Christmas too? Are you looking at things differently?
Yes, absolutely. But it's more just in general. I'm looking at everything differently, I feel like this Christmas season. And I feel that being on the forefront of a show like Hello Houston, where people call in and they tell us their own stories, there are a lot of people that are hurting. And I hope my kids understand that it's not about the Christmas gifts. And I'm not here, I don't want to preach or anything. But truly, how lucky are we that we're not having to go to the food bank?
Yeah.
You're right.
713-440-8870. How is the perceived inflation, the tariffs, how are they affecting you in your everyday life? Let us know. Again, 713-440-8870. On to another story, which seems to be a way someone figured out how to handle the inflation, where Donald Trump on Wednesday granted a full pardon to Texas Representative Henry Cuellar and his wife, ending a federal corruption case against them. Cuellar and his wife faced charges including bribery, money laundering, and conspiracy, accused of accepting roughly $600,000 from a foreign energy company and a Mexican bank in exchange for influencing legislation. In a social media post, Trump called the prosecution weaponized under the prior administration and accused prosecutors of targeting Cuellar because he spoke out against what Trump called the Biden border catastrophe. Cuellar, a conservative Democrat from South Texas, has consistently denied wrongdoing. After the pardon, he thanked Trump for granting him a clean slate. And he then filed for re-election. Some political analysts and reform advocates urge the pardon underscores concerns over the use of clemency power, warning it could weaken accountability in cases of alleged corruption. What are your thoughts on this pardon? Did he get off scot-free, or was he targeted by Biden? 713-440-8870.
Well, it's done, so it doesn't matter, does it?
It matters what you think.
Well, yeah, it matters what you think, but it's a clean slate. There was a rumor he was going to run as a Republican, but he's not. He's running as a Democrat.
But he's a conservative Democrat.
Well, that's fine. I like conservative Democrats. I like liberal Republicans. I like moderate people.
Well, so does it actually show a more open Trump policy that he's willing to pardon Democrats and Republicans?
It's going to be very interesting to see, I think, what the question becomes is, will people vote for him?
Yeah.
And I think that is where I think we're going to really start to, I hope, things that we're going to learn from this administration is we really need to, all administrations, say this administration, really look at your local elected officials.
Yeah. Do you think, on a side note of all this, do you think our pardon policy for the President of the United States, regardless of who is in office, should be reevaluated?
Oof, that's a tough one.
Why not?
Well, the problem that I find there is that if you do it for President Trump, then you have to go and you need to go back and look at President Biden and start looking at
I'm just talking about changing the policy moving forward.
Okay, not necessarily looking...
Not what they've done already,
okay.
But has it become too broad? I mean, what we saw both in the Trump and the Biden administration was pre-pardons before you've been charged with a crime. Yeah, but that seems like it's getting a bit.
Here's part of the difference.
Slatey.
There is a pardon committee that's headed up by lawyers that Biden went through. Trump doesn't go through them. Trump just pardons whoever he wants. He doesn't look for any legal basis or any ethical guideline, or looks really at what someone has done or not done, or if they've been mistreated. So that's kind of the difference, is that, to your point, if it was done the way it had been originally, where you have a committee that recommends these people, then I think that's the way to do it. But he doesn't do it that way.
I'm worried about the preemptive pardons. Those just don't feel right to me.
And again, 713-440-8870. You're listening to Hello Houston on 88.7. Dorian from Southeast Houston is on the line. Dorian, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your question or comment?
Well, my comment is in reference to what you guys are talking about today with the economy being what it is.
With tariffs and such,
also,
And Costco.
Also, my comment is, I'm sorry?
And Costco suing the administration?
No, not Costco's administration. I'm talking about the overall administration of the United States.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the impact it's having on everything that we live with today. I know I own a small business, and I am on the verge of letting go of my employee because my revenues are down month over month by about 45%.
Wow.
And that is due to several factors. It's like a hurricane meeting a tornado.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got the immigration raids that are taking place, which has the community fearful of coming out to shop, and those that can't come out to shop aren't coming out because of that. But then you also have the downturn in the economy due to tariffs. I have several clients that used to come in and spend with me, and now when I see them, they tell you right up front they don't have the money to do it anymore because either they were laid off or their wife was laid off or something of that nature. But I mean, it's like I don't know if small businesses are going to survive in the way the country is being run right now.
Dorian, just a real quick question. Quick question for you. You don't have to get into detail. I'm just curious, what industry or what type of business do you run?
I run a laundromat.
Ah, okay.
Wow.
I run a laundromat, and I used to do wash and folds, where people would drop off their clothes, we wash, dry them, and fold them up for them. That business is all but dried up, and because to most people coming in to do that, they didn't have the time to do it. But now they're finding they have the time because they don't have a job anymore.
Right.
Or
that makes perfect sense.
The wife is laid off, so they can't afford it any longer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dorian, for calling into Hello Houston. Arnold on Gulfton is on the line. Arnold, welcome to Hello Houston. Actually, Arnold is not on the line.
Arnold dropped.
Arnold dropped.
Let's not forget, small businesses are the backbone of this country.
We often think
Absolutely.
about the Costcos and the big box stores, but actually it's the small businesses.
And they're the
that
ones
run
that,
this
as
nation.
Celeste said, they don't have lawyers to sue the
They
administration.
don't have lawyers. And that's the thing, though, right? This is in the headline that, you have Costco sounding the alarm that they are being affected by tariffs. This situation has been going on from the day the tariffs started. When there's any type of administration change, small businesses get hit just when the holidays come around and people are saying, you know what, I think I need to buy Christmas gifts, so I'm going to hold off on maybe going and getting my nails done or getting my hair done.
Ronald Reagan warned us tariffs are not a good idea.
And so here we are, but like y'all said, I mean, it is unfortunate, but at least we are talking about it.
Yep, and we talk about everything here at Hello Houston.
That's right. Coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to talk about Proposition 15, a constitutional amendment that formally adds parental rights, including decisions about a child's care, custody, and upbringing, into the state constitution. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
After heavy lobbying from agribusiness, the Make America Healthy Again Commission shifts its stance on harmful agrochemicals.
In the most recent report that came out in September, they eliminated all discussion of those pesticides and in fact talked about what a great job the EPA was doing in terms of regulating pesticides.
I'm Steve Kerwood, and that's next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
Tune in Saturday night at 10 on News 88.7.
This is Ira Glass. On This American Life, we like stories that surprise you. For instance, imagine finding a new hobby and realizing
to do this hobby right, according to the ways of the masters, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have to bend the law to get the materials that you need.
if not break it.
Yeah, to break international laws.
Real life stories, really good ones, every week.
Saturdays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Theater Under the Stars, bringing you a forecast snowy white with Irving Berlin's Broadway musical White Christmas. Performances begin Tuesday at the Hobby Center. Tickets are available at tuts.org.
Support comes from Bach Society Houston, performing the Bach Christmas Oratorio and the Magnificat, a Christmas tradition. Saturday, December 13th, 3 p.m. at Brockman Hall, Rice University. Tickets at BachSocietyHouston.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Texas voters have approved Proposition 15, a constitutional amendment that formally adds parental rights, including decisions about a child's care, custody, and upbringing, into this state constitution. Supporters say it strengthens families and clarifies long-standing protections, while critics worry it could interfere with public schools or limit the state's ability to step in when a child needs help. To help us understand what this amendment actually does, what it doesn't do, and what changes Texas parents might see now that it is in effect, we're joined by Nour Acosta, Senior Legal Clinic Supervisor at the University of Houston Law Center. Nour, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Nour, at first glance, Proposition 15, it sounds pretty straightforward, pretty obvious. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their child. I mean, to me, I think, who wouldn't want parents to be involved in their child's life unless a child is unsafe? So how does Proposition 15 balance parental rights with child protection?
That's a very good question, Celeste, because it's very vague. And that's one of the that's what critics are saying, is that the new amendment doesn't define the terms care, custody, and control, or what making decisions for a child's upbringing means exactly. So the critics argue that they're concerned that this is going to sway and shift the balance of parental wishes over possibly the health, safety, and welfare best interest of the children.
Right.
Well, Nour, I always grew up with your parents had the last word. I mean, it was like, I'm going to call your mother. So where did this go off track, where parents don't have parental rights? What's going on that even prompted this to come about?
Well, parents do have parental rights, and it's been a fundamental liberty interest that has been in case law precedent, Supreme Court, and in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. All say that parents have the fundamental right to care, custody, and control, and to make decisions regarding a child's upbringing.
So why do we need this? Is this just MAGA grandstanding saying, hey, we're going to put it in the Constitution because we are just going to do it?
Well, supporters are saying that the reason they wanted this amendment was so that it can be enshrined in the Constitution, make it difficult to change later. Although it is case law precedent, they don't want courts in the future to erode this precedent or state law to change. I mean, it's also actually in the Texas Family Code right now that says specifically parents have the duty and right to moral and religious training of the child, as well as that states agencies cannot interfere with that right by issuing policies or rules that violate that fundamental right.
So Nour, when you see it like that, it seems very high level, it sounds very legal. So when we look at the words like upbringing, so what happens if a religion or a parent says, I don't believe in modern medicine, so if my child is sick, I'm not going to necessarily take them to the hospital. Or I believe in my household that withholding food for days on end is a part of punishment, and that is within my household belief and upbringing. What type of legal action can be taken if the parent then argues, in Proposition 15, in our state law and our code, that is my parental right?
Well, you'll probably see a wave of lawsuits against school officials for this reason. And like I mentioned, it's vague that these terms are not defined. And so the term control is going to have to be interpreted by these courts to weigh the balance of parent wishes against legislative interests such as child welfare and health and safety regulations and school curriculum requirements as well.
You talk about it being vague, but it's not unthought out is my approach. And here's the cynic in me, that this was a very vaguely written bill or proposition, however you want to say it, because it's hard to say, oh no, parents don't have the right to take care of their children. But that's what it says on the surface. And as Celeste has brought up and Frank has brought up, that really there's something else at play here underneath it, that it allows for censorship of books by school districts. It allows, because you can use the argument, well, not all parents would agree to have this here. And so it's taking all of the control away from organizations and institutions we have over time allowed to do a lot of this work, and for the most part has done it very fair and just. That there's something else at play here. Am I off the rails believing that, or what does it say legally?
Well, textually speaking, the language is very similar to that of case law precedent. So nothing has really changed textually speaking as far as the language of what our legal fundamental right as parents is. However, this just gives people who do disagree with how schools, what school curriculum includes and possibly topics of LGBTQ, for instance, or gender identity issues, it gives them another leg to stand on when filing lawsuits, and can now bring those in state court as well as the federal courts. Although, like I mentioned, it was already in the Texas Family Code to some extent. I think it's a double-edged sword, because I think you could also see parents on the other side who do want those topics in their schools and in their curriculum, because they are part of LGBTQ, for instance, community families, and they want that as part of their children's upbringing. So like I mentioned, it's really going to be up to the courts and judges to decide what that interpretation is and how to balance that control of what parents want and their fundamental right versus the legislative interests of child welfare and school curriculum requirements and health and safety. And I think you're going to see various rulings across Texas, possibly differing depending on which area you're in.
But couldn't it have been written clearer so that you don't have all of this speculation that follows? Or is that the way we do all of these propositions, and this one's just getting the attention right now? I don't understand why you would give something to people to vote on, which we really don't understand what it means until then courts look at it. Shouldn't that be part of what we do when we propose these things?
And that's what critics are saying, is that while this amendment affirms the fundamental rights that parents have concerning the upbringing of their children, it does not affirm child welfare laws. It doesn't affirm other best interests of the children issues, but those are still there. It doesn't take that away, it doesn't take those laws away either, is what they say on the other side. But you're right, they could have defined what does control mean, but they didn't. And I have that same question.
Well, I love this double-edged sword you brought up, because what if you're, as a parent, you say, I want my child who's gay to have LGBTQ support at school. And as a parent, I'm demanding that of the school. And the school says, well, we can't do that because we can't have anything DEI in our school. Well, then I'm going to sue you because you are overstepping what I want for my child. Is that a legitimate argument?
Yes, it could be an argument. And these are arguments that are already being raised even prior to Prop 15 passing. I don't know if you guys have heard about the parents from Bel Air High School who are suing school officials, and that's under federal laws that they're suing, but they similarly could now bring it under Prop 15. And that's for those who out there who don't know what we're talking about. It's parents have sued schools for referring to their daughter and by masculine name and male pronouns when they've asked that they use the female pronouns in the name that they gave her, and they continue to do otherwise. So that's still in court and being litigated. So I'm curious to see what the court says about that.
Nor are there other states that have these type of propositions, and what can you tell us about that? I understand Texas is not the first state to implement a parental rights type clause.
I can't tell you. I would have to look into that further to see what the states have been doing with that type of clause and if it's changed recently. But I just know that in Texas, you're definitely seeing this being brought up more. So they will probably look at other states and seeing how they're handling it. So it's something to definitely keep an eye out for.
Which then the question then I think becomes is, do you think that the state can balance the pendulum swinging too much to enforcing parental rights but yet still making sure that children are protected if they are in unsafe environments?
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by unsafe. If people have different views of what is considered abuse or neglect.
Right.
And so it's really going to be up to the judges to decide what they consider being outside of that or within that. So if they think that, referring to a child by a name that they don't want to be referred to is a form of abuse or neglect, then that's something they're going to have to decide on.
So then what would this do to DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services? Does this strip all their power away?
No, it does not. I mean,
how then do both exist?
Well, critics say that it could inadvertently hinder state agencies and social services from doing their job to protect child abuse and neglect from happening or going on. But the reality is those laws are still there. And so it's up to judges to balance that out with this amendment, which is actually just a codification of what's already been out there, and that parents have this fundamental right to make decisions. So they really are going to have to define what does control mean, and in what cases is control in the the ballpark of the parents to make a decision concerning upbringing in what cases that control for legislative interest, serve a purpose for legislative interest.
Yeah, but to what Celeste was saying earlier, too, if a parent decides that I punish my child when they're wrong by not feeding them, and that is my parental right to do that, it seems as though this new law, supports that because it's giving the parent control in how they want to bring up their child. And a state agency, DCFS or whoever, who would intercede in that, has no right to do that because of this law.
Right.
And you're right that could inadvertently happen, is that...
Not inadvertently, though. It sounds like it's written in that way specifically. Now, I know it hasn't been litigated in courts and such yet, and I understand how that redefines laws, but it just seems like it shouldn't have gotten to this point that a proposition written this way could be put on a ballot that could, in effect, negate care and protection of children by the state, which is often there to give care and protection to children who don't get it.
But I don't know if I fully agree with that, because it's already been written that way. It's been written that way in case law. It's been written that way in the Texas Family Code, and it's been stated that way by Supreme Court in more than one case. So essentially, it's the same law that's been out there. It's just codified now and enshrined in the Texas Constitution so that it can't be changed going forward. But yes, critics are saying also that it could be, because it's giving people another leg to stand on for parental rights, then it could possibly inadvertently...
Okay, I'm going to cool down now. That was my hot moment.
I have a question. We have a tendency to focus on schools, but does this also apply to, say, health clinics? And a child wants to go to a health clinic, a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, and ask for condoms. And that clinic now has to say, only if you get a note from your mom can we give you a condom. Is that true?
Yes, this can apply to health needs as well, medical needs, as well as schools, as well as social issues. Yes, it's not just limited to schools and education.
Yeah, so it could be, I know abortion is outlawed, but it could really go to teenagers who have issues that they don't want to discuss with their parents. And now health clinics and schools and counselors may not be in a position to discuss it with them either, because without parental permission, and they don't want to go get parental permission because they don't want mom and dad to know they're pregnant, right? And so they go to the school counselor, and the school counselor says, I can't talk to you about this without permission from your parents. It's just, it's a real dog-eat-dog situation.
Yes, it would be helpful if we got more direction from the legislature.
It would, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it seems like that's the problem, essentially, is if in our state law it becomes code or it's codified and it becomes harder to then turn over, that's where the danger starts to happen, because if you do see an uptick in parents or children that are unsafe, the protection of a child is less, but yet the enforcement over parental rights the pendulum has swung to that level. That, I think, is not the best way for our state to be legislating. Mm-hmm. That's just my thought. Those are my 2 cents.
Should have rights.
And as a parent, teenagers, I don't have one yet. My son is 5 today, but I would imagine that there are social things that you do want your child to come talk to you about. However, not all parents are going to be loving and accepting and open to hearing their child, what they say.
And what if the kid has a drug problem and goes to this counselor and says, I think I have a drug problem, but I don't want to tell my parents.
Yeah.
And the counselor now has to say what? Well, you have to tell your parents before I can help you. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many worms in this can. I don't know how we're going to get around it. I'm worried.
Yeah, I'm curious to see in that Bel Air case, too, if they are going to say that they should have given the parents all those records, because that's one of the issues there, is that the parents have requested all the school records and the counseling records where the talk about gender identity has been an issue and they had not received it.
Interesting.
Nour Acosta is a senior legal clinic supervisor at the University of Houston's Law Center. Nour, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, Houston-born singer-songwriter CJ Emmons is going to join us. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Listening to the other side. Join me in being open to debate.
Tune in this Sunday night at 10 on News 88.7.
I'm Jay Ellison. Join us for more true personal stories told live on stage. No scripts, no notes, no nothing. Each Moth Radio Hour is a mix of funny and heartbreaking tales that captivate and surprise and delight audiences around the world with their honesty and bravery and humor. That's the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
The Moth Radio Hour, Saturdays at noon on News 88.7.
I'm Christopher Kimball from Mill Street Radio. This week, chocolate and an orgy.
When the courtesans arrived, suddenly they were faced with this entire platter of chocolate and they started consuming it and ended up unconscious.
The rich history of chocolate, that's coming up this week on Mill Street Radio from PRX.
Tune in Sunday afternoon at 1 on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing Metro Downtown Direct, helping riders get home for the holidays with non-stop service between downtown and Bush Intercontinental Airport. Details at ridemetro.org/500. Support comes from Stages, presenting It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play set in a 1940s radio station with live sound effects and on-stage storytelling that celebrates connection and hope. Now through December 28th. More at stageshouston.com.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Houston-born singer-songwriter and producer CJ Emmons has built a remarkable career working with major artists, becoming the principal singer on Dancing with the Stars for more than a decade, and now returning home with a very personal show. On Friday, December 12th at the Hobby Center, CJ brings his one-man performance, I'm freaking talented. I will say we've gone back and forth about where to put the emphasis in that sentence. You'll explain it to us in a minute. It's his journey through a 23-year career in Hollywood, blending storytelling, comedy, and singing. And if you couldn't guess, he's here in the studio with us now. CJ Emmons, welcome.
Thank you so much.
If people want to talk to you and chat with you, 713-440-8870. Celeste has the first question.
Well, okay, I've got to say, one, CJ, I watched your Britain's Got Talent performance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Can do Whitney justice.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I think you made her proud. But what I love about your story is that you are the lead singer on Dancing with the Stars.
Sure.
Millions of people hear your voice, but now they're getting to put a face to that incredible
Isn't that cool?
voice. And you're finally going to do it, here in Houston, in your hometown. How does that feel?
It feels like home.
Yeah.
It feels like I've been working all this time to come back home and to do it. It feels like not the end game, but a welcome back. I've been in tears the whole time I've been working on this project, and it feels so good to be home. I was driving down the street and I was looking at old places that I used to frequent, and I went to my old high school yesterday, Willow Ridge High School, class of 2000, shout out. And I just aged myself too.
Everyone's doing the math now.
I know. You just aged me too by saying that.
And I remember the hallways and everything smelled the same. And when I got back to the auditorium, which I used to do plays, I just broke down crying. It was so nostalgic, and to have Houston welcome me back as CJ.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, God, we did it.
Okay, so tell me, I mentioned this in the intro, how do we put the emphasis on I'm freaking talented? I'm freaking talented.
I'm freaking talented.
We all did our own version, CJ.
Did you guys do your own version?
Yeah,
this morning we were going through it, trying to figure where we put the emphasis.
I'm so glad we're using freaking because it was called something else. It is I'm freaking talented.
There
So
you
it's a
go.
statement. It is a statement.
proclamation.
Yes, it is.
Good for you.
I created it because right after pandemic, my phone wasn't ringing, which was a surprise to me. Yeah. And so as a creative, I said, I have to do something. I have to write something, make something happen. And I'm freaking talented was born. And I just start talking about my life. I just start talking about the things that I've, gone through with, at that time, it was 20 years in LA. And I found a theater in LA to put it up. And for 2.5 years, it sold out. And I didn't realize people wanted my story. Yeah. And they did. And for 2.5 years, they sold out. And so I had, I think Suzanne DePass, if you guys recognize that name, she's the one who's bringing the Michael Jackson movie to life. Mm-hmm. And she saw it and she's like, we're going to do something with this. So, yeah.
So, as Celeste said, you do Whitney proud.
Oh, thank you.
Now, do you, because your voice, you have that range.
Yep.
But do you have a preference for the type of artist you like to cover? Do you prefer the divas, or do you go? There's a lot of cover there. There's a lot of cover there. We could. Well, Benson Boone covered Adele and was amazing. So there's no rules on this. I'm just wondering what's your preference.
I like to cover the divas. I'm not gonna lie. I listen. The voice that I have, I have to cover the. I have to cover the Arethas, the Whitneys, the Patties, the Celines. I have to cover the divas.
But those aren't just divas. Those are big voices and big shoes to fill.
Well, they're divas.
Do you ever feel nervous? Do you ever feel
all the time?
Yeah, talk to us about that.
All the time. I am always nervous. When I step on any stage, my hands are sweating. My anxiety is through the roof. Yeah. I have to go into breathing exercises. You guys don't get to see any of that. But behind that door, I am like, okay. And then I have those, those questions and doubts in my mind. Like, am I good enough? Am I doing the right thing? Is this really who I am? And then I just take all of that and I channel it into the performance.
And you say, I am freaking talented.
I'm freaking talented.
Let me ask you this. I've never asked this question before, and it just came to me in what we've been asking you here. When you know that note is coming, do you know you're going to hit it? Or is it the fact that you don't know until it comes out of your mouth that you got
That's a good question.
That is a beautiful question.
I've never thought that before,
That's
but
a beautiful
you're talking.
question. I surrender to the song.
Yeah.
So, and for that, for the listeners wondering what does that mean, is that I take myself out of it. Okay. And I totally surrender to giving the song what it needs. If I have a doubt in my mind if the note is going to come out, it probably won't. So when I say I surrender, I totally understand what's going on, but I remove myself. I have a very spiritual relationship with anything that I sing. Yeah. And if I don't feel that I can deliver it, I don't sing it. Yeah. And so with the song like I Will Always Love You, I literally I go in. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, is there one song out there that has escaped you that you want to sing it and you keep trying and it's escaping you?
Or haven't found your voice within it?
Could always go an octave lower and sing it probably, but
oh, shame on you. Shame on you.
Frank, leave the room.
No, there's nothing.
Really?
No.
Well, we had a YouTube comment from one of our regulars who says CJ Emmons' voice is butter.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you for that comment.
It's interesting, CJ, because you say that you have this spiritual relationship with singing and the music, but you've been singing since you were 6 years old.
Yeah.
So when
3.
Yes. 3 years old.
Yeah.
So when did you feel that spirituality and that connection to music, or was it always there?
It's always been there. I'm one of the only singers in my family. And
Wow.
I didn't grow up with singers at all. No one in my household could sing. My mother would always say, "You took my voice when you came out of me." So
did they know they couldn't sing, or have they been trying to sing this whole time? And you're like, "Oh, you
well,
don't
let me
sing."
tell you, growing up in a house of people who were trying to sing was something else because but My grandmother at one time, she laid in bed and she said, we were talking because I was born on her birthday. And so my mother was her only child. And so when I came into the world, I was her son plus her other child. Yeah. And she laid in bed one day and she says, can you scat? And I said, what is that? I think I was like maybe 10 or 11. And she said, I'm going to show you. And she opened her mouth and she, that was the only time I ever heard her sing. She had a voice as big as Mahalia Jackson. Wow. And it filled the entire room. And I looked at her and I said, and she says, no, go work on that. and that was it. And she would hear me study it and try. And she'd say, nope, you don't have it. Nope, you don't get. But what I learned, my grandmother passed away in 2006. God rest her soul. She's always still with me. Yeah. But her sisters told me that she could sing and that she just wouldn't. And that was the first and only time I heard her sing. But yeah, my household, I filled my house with song every chance I got. I used to hang my microphone from my ceiling fan because I used to think I'm going to be in the studio one day and I'm recording this. And my mother told me recently, she said that she would pass by my room and hear me sing certain songs. And she said that when she would hear me hit a note that wasn't right, she says, oh, no, he doesn't have, oh, no, he doesn't have, he got it. And she said she would walk away.
Well, who did the inspiration? Obviously, Grandma was there. Mm-hmm. Were there teachers? Were there music teachers? When did you finally say, you know what, I could make a living at this?
Good question. Growing up, there really wasn't inspiration. I went within it because I knew I loved it. I loved to sing. I loved my mother filled the house with music all the time. There was always all kinds of music. So I just loved singing. Whitney Houston was my first, well, let me not say inspired, but Whitney was my first everything. My cousin, Sylvia, rest in peace, she was the one who made me learn my first Whitney Houston song. Yeah. And I remember being in the room. I remember when she cracked open the record. I remember everything about that moment. And when she played the song, and you guys are going to see it and hear it in the production of I'm Freaking Talented, it was, a few stolen moments is all that we shared. And I remember those first words, and I said, yeah, this is it. So Whitney was my first voice that I ever heard to emulate, to just do. And yeah, Whitney was the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you talk about emulating a voice, how much of it is finding who you are, who CJ is in the voice, and how much of it is hearing it and being inspired by the way they present the song?
You know, at church, we had a choir minister who allowed everyone in the choir, if you had a voice or not, to sing. and listen, some of those things were, so he allowed us to find our voices in that. Yeah. But I'll tell you this, when you are singing such great artists as Whitney, as Mariah, you better be on your chops with it, because a lot of people are very familiar with that tone, with that way that those songs were registered and come out. So every now and then you allow, a little grace is allowed, like what I did on Britain's Got Talent. And I took a risk because I changed up a bit of it, but it wasn't so much as a distraction. And for Simon to say that, you know, I was the vocal masterclass, it floored me, because that meant I still, you know, stayed true to the integrity of the song. Yeah.
What are the nuts and bolts for the show? We're about out of time.
Yeah.
To this December 12th.
Yep, December 12th, Houston Hobby Center. The Ensemble Theater is also putting it up. I was a part of their YP program. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Miss Eileen. December 12th, Houston Hobby. Again, they can get tickets on the website, and tickets are really, really good right now, so go get them. Yeah, and yeah, I'm
CJ,
freaking talented.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome.
CJ Emmons is a Houston-born singer and songwriter. CJ, thank you so much for being here today.
You are freaking talented.
You are
so much.
freaking amazing.
Come back anytime.
Yeah.
As we just mentioned, I'm Freaking Talented will be performed at the Hobby Center on Friday, December 12th. Coming up, we'll continue diving into today's top stories. We'll also dive into our weekly current obsessions, so be ready to have yours.
Love it. I can talk to y'all all day.
Yes, stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
You're my new obsession.
Listen.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe. R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul. Music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
50 degrees at the University of Houston. I'm Tiffany Taylor. Overcast with showers and thunderstorms likely throughout the day. Look for a high in the upper 50s. This is your NPR station. KUHF Houston News, 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, the New York Times is suing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over the Pentagon's new media policy, which adds restrictions to how reporters cover the military. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top stories. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Diaz Sherman. With a new slate of Texas laws going into effect this month, Rice University's Mark Jones will join us to discuss.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also share a rundown of things that are currently taking over all our free time for our regular Thursday feature, Current Obsessions.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870. Or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And don't forget, you can watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Pentagon watchdog finds Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth violated Pentagon policies when he discussed sensitive operational details on a Signal group chat. The investigation was launched at the request of the chairman and the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee after the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg reported that he was included in a chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen.
There were two problems with the chat. One, that it was happening in a commercial messaging app. And the second was that they didn't know who they had added into the chat, namely me, and, violating basic rules of good digital hygiene.
Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg speaking with NPR's Morning Edition. We should note NPR CEO Catherine Marr chairs the board of the Signal Foundation. Hegseth is also under heavy scrutiny over military strikes on boats suspected of carrying drugs from South America to the U.S. Some military lawyers and political leaders have raised concerns that a war crime might have been committed in one such encounter on September 2nd. The Washington Post first reported that Secretary Hegseth gave a spoken order to kill everybody on the boat, and according to unnamed sources, when two survivors were detected, Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley directed another strike to comply with Hegseth's order that no one be left alive. Lawmakers were expected to hold closed-door briefings today with Bradley. The FBI says it has arrested a man suspected of placing pipe bombs near the U.S. Capitol complex ahead of the insurrection at the Capitol nearly 5 years ago, according to three sources familiar with the matter. Here's NPR's Carrie Johnson.
The FBI has spent years searching for the person who put bombs near the Democratic and Republican committee headquarters hours before the assault on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Now, a federal law enforcement source says authorities think they have identified the culprit. FBI agents conducted 1,000 interviews and reviewed nearly 40,000 video files. But the alleged bomber remained elusive for years, despite a $500,000 reward. New leaders at the FBI and the Justice Department intensified their focus on the case this year. Carrie Johnson, NPR News.
New York Attorney General Letitia James is challenging the legality of Trump loyalist John Sarkozy's appointment as acting U.S. Attorney for Northern New York. A court hearing is scheduled today. James is disputing his authority to oversee a Justice Department investigation into regulatory lawsuits she filed against President Trump and the National Rifle Association. U.S. stocks are mixed this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 71 points at 47,811. The S&P has gained 3 points, and the Nasdaq is up 36 points. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. A proposal to curtail coordination between the Houston Police Department and Immigration and Customs Enforcement is losing momentum at the Houston City Council. Councilmember Leticia Plummer is asking for support from her colleagues Mario Castillo and Joaquin Martinez. But Martinez says he was concerned when the measure was leaked to the Houston Chronicle.
I don't want to be used as a pawn either, quite frankly. I think the work needs to be done, but the work also entails that we go through the right process.
The proposal would give officers discretion over whether or not to contact ICE when they encounter people with immigration warrants. The city's legal department believes it would violate state law and could lead to the removal of local elected officials from office. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is proposing giving Texas newborns $1,000. News 88.7's Matt Harrop explains.
Patrick's proposal would be in addition to a federal program that is set to give American babies $1,000 each to invest in the stock market. The lieutenant governor says this proposal would be a priority during the state's 2027 legislative session. He's naming it the New Little Texans Savings Fund. The initiative would cost the state around $440 million per year, which is less than 1% of the state budget for the next 2 years. Patrick says he would seek to pass a constitutional amendment making the program permanent.
Matt Harrop reporting. A new bus route connecting Galveston to the mainland launched this week. The route, called the Splash, will run between Texas City and Strand Street in Galveston. Timmy Sykes is a spokesperson for the Gulf Coast Transit District, who partnered with Galveston Island Transit to make it happen.
We saw a great need for that transportation services to connect the mainland to Galveston.
Rides will be available Monday through Saturday from 6 in the morning to 8 in the evening. It's 50 degrees right now on the University of Houston campus. It won't get much warmer today with a high of 53. 60% chance of some showers before 2 p.m., cloudy into tonight with a low around 43. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Made in Cookware. Made in Cookware is crafted by chefs for use in restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware can be found at madeincookware.com. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And we are back again, trying to live up to the energy of our last segment.
He was great.
CJ Emmons. Boy, he brightened this studio up.
But you know, Ernie, when we were talking after the show, you brought up a really great point, how there are so many local artists that are extremely talented, off the charts type of talented, CJ Emmons type talented, and that they have to leave in order to get that recognition here in Houston.
I have so many friends in the performing arts arena that all say the same thing. It's like they work, they hone their craft here, they try and get attention, they work, they leave and go somewhere else, and all of a sudden back here at home, like, oh my, that's so-and-so, and all of a sudden then they come back to the triumph. And so I don't know if that's just human nature. You don't recognize what you have until it's gone, and then you realize how great it is.
CJ Emmons is currently the lead singer for Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
I watched Dancing with the Stars. Boy, there was a lot to chat about just in
I know,
the
you
show
wanted
itself.
To get the tea of what's going on
The tea is
behind
hot
the scene,
with Dancing with the Stars. But it was so interesting. This is his first time performing home here on his home turf.
And you know, the tax structure of Texas is awfully welcoming. But we haven't become the Atlanta or the LA that so many, or certainly the New York that so many places have when it comes to keeping talent and really growing it and keeping it. It's just it does surprise me. You're right, Ernie. They almost have to go away and then come back.
Yeah,
right.
But he's coming back to perform at the Hobby Center. Nice
December
for you, sir.
12th.
You know, I have a big
talent.
night already that Friday where I would go. Are you going to go?
I'm going to try and go. I have to check my calendar, but I want to be there. I wouldn't want to miss it. Something else I don't want anyone to miss is the fact that we're doing a poll right now. We have
Yes.
a poll up on our YouTube trying to figure out what we want to name the group of
Are we still
YouTube-
doing that?
We have a new selection of names up there, and we're asking for you to vote on them. Remember, it's not for us to pick. It's for you guys to decide. What do you want to be referred to? So there's another poll going. A little earlier today, we had a poll, and I talk about these polls over on YouTube. Every day, we're running polls. So when you go and watch the show on YouTube, when you're in the chat there, you'll see these polls pop up. We were asking about tariffs earlier, and Celeste, do you see the results of these polls?
I have not seen the results yet.
Well,
I'm trying to find.
nobody said they've seen no change at all, which I thought was interesting.
Wow.
Nobody said they didn't even notice, but 33% said that they saw a little bit of change in the way they normally shop, and 67% of those participating in our poll said, yes, everything is more expensive.
My olive oil went from $30, which is a lot for olive oil, but I drink it every day, to $45.
Oh,
From
wow.
$30 to $45.
That's a
This
big increase.
morning.
It's from Spain. I don't know if there's
50%
a Spain
tariff.
Yeah.
This morning, I went to buy a balloon at HEB. I bought one big 5 helium balloon and then 4 little balloons. $22.
Wow.
That
I don't know the balloon industry
The
like
balloon
you
market.
do. That sounds like a lot. And so many parties count on those balloons. They make all kinds of arches with balloons. And now Mardi Gras is coming up in just a couple of months. And there's all kinds of decorations for that. I bet the event industry has really taken it because a lot of that stuff does come from China.
Yes, and it was $22.
All right, I don't want to bury the lead here and very quickly, but the reason you were buying balloons today?
Philip is turning 5.
Your
My
little man.
son, my little
to
boy.
you.
Should have had CJ sing him happy birthday.
Oh my
Not me.
gosh.
Not you, Frank.
Frank.
Darn it.
You can tell him the weather on his birthday.
You know
but
that my
CJ can
biological
sing.
father was an a cappella lead singer.
I
He had
did not
a
know that.
beautiful voice, but he didn't get it. All I got was acne.
Well, on that
No,
note,
to CJ's point, I mean, sometimes, one person in the family can really sing and nobody else can.
well, good fact. Thank you for that. I don't even know how to make a segue out of that. Coming up on the show, we talked in the first hour about Prop 15 and what it all meant. Well, Prop 15 isn't the only new law going into effect. We'll be talking about a lot more of those coming up in just a moment when Rice University's Mark Jones joins us to tell us how this is going to impact your life right here in the great state of Texas. But before we get there, Celeste, start us off with the headlines.
Well, it's not just Costco who is planning to sue the presidential administration. The New York Times has sued Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Thursday over the Pentagon's new policy that requires media outlets to pledge not to gather information unless defense officials formally authorize its release. That policy unveiled in September, which we did discuss right here on Hello Houston. It includes a ban on credentialed journalists reporting even unclassified material that isn't expressly approved for public consumption by Defense Department brass. The Times said the Pentagon policy represents an attempt to force reporters to rely solely upon officials for news involving the military and would unlawfully permit their punishment for failing to do so. The Times and NPR are among the organizations that chose to give up their press passes rather than agree to the policy. What are your thoughts on this lawsuit? Are you on the government side or are you on the side of the journalist? Now is the time to join us on 713-440-8870.
I don't know. Did you folks see the press conference they had at the Pentagon this past week?
Nope.
Where they just started with this new... I'm sorry. These are scripted, planned information releases. They are not pressers.
I don't think it's a coincidence that this was issued on September 18th and the Caribbean boat attack happened on September 2nd. It's very interesting to me that the Caribbean, which is all the news now, I mean, it's all you hear about is this Caribbean boat and a second strike, and these were shipwrecked people.
And there were some Colombian fishermen on it, right?
And so that's all you hear about. That happened on September 2nd, and on September 18th, you can't report anything that comes out of the Pentagon. Is that a coincidence or is that intentional, Celeste?
Well, it smells fishy for sure.
So to speak.
Yes, I would say that oftentimes like, oh, come on, Frank, conspiracy. But, you've been hitting them right one after another. It's starting to make me worry about what's really going on in the world.
There's always ulterior motive with almost any administration. It's not just this one.
Well, Hegseth is in the hot seat this whole week. There is this particular policy happening in this lawsuit from New York Times. There's Signalgate, and they just released the report on that, the unclassified report about what happened when he was put people in a Signal chat group, and that reporter was in there
and
too.
Put our people at risk.
Yeah,
put our
then
soldiers
there is
at
the
risk.
kill them all order with the drug boat strike you were just talking about. There's also the abrupt resignation of Admiral Alvin Holsley, who supposedly, as I understand this story, and we're going to learn more as it continues because he said he will testify. He said he left because he was given unofficial or illegal orders. And then there's the media overhaul. This is a bad week for Pete Hegseth, but it may be a very good week for us as Americans.
I'd be surprised if he survived this politically.
It'll be interesting. As soon as you think you know what the administration is going to do, they often like to do the absolute opposite. And so if you're counting on, because of this behavior, there's going to be a resignation, you may see a whole different thing.
But whenever you list off the levels and the different issues or I don't know what you would call those. Cases or situations, issues. Whenever you have very high-level political appointees that essentially don't know and understand the intricacies of how important these type of communications are, you're going to have these type of missteps.
Absolutely.
And to me, it's not shocking. Pete Hegseth was a journalist on Fox.
Yep. He had, so many of Trump's appointments have absolutely no credibility to be in the position they are in.
And I'm not saying that he's not an intelligent person. I'm not saying that he's not capable. What I'm saying is that, again, at this level of type of communication and I don't
and playing the chessboard and the secrecy and the what it takes to be the head of the military for a country like the United States,
the most powerful, one of the most powerful countries in the world. I'm not shocked. Of course, you're going to see these types of messiness happen.
But killing innocent people in the Caribbean, and I say innocent because they were never proven guilty, but just killing people because you suspect that they're nefarious is illegal.
This is
if we're at war with them, that's a different situation. I haven't seen the fact that we are or are not at war with anybody is beyond me. Are we? Are we not?
That's the word I was trying to use. Intel, but
I will tell you just really quickly. Then, when I heard the kill them all order, it sent a chill down my spine. It is not, I don't think, who we are as a country in that kind of callousness. And that you can say, succeed through your mission, neutralize source, kill them all is putting a human face on it.
Well, you'll recall the HBO special on Robert Durst.
Oh, yeah.
And his mic was still hot.
Yep.
And he's in the bathroom and he's talking to himself and he says, of course, I killed them all.
That was the first big domino to fall when in documentaries. And we do have a call, Michael from West Chase. Welcome to Hello Houston, Michael.
Hi, guys. Listen, I'm an international lawyer. I've also written extensively on human rights. I've been officials of Amnesty International, the ACLU, and I'm a member of Human Rights Watch. This is unequivocally a war crime.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about it is the American law cites that, of course, you can be condemned for doing this, but you also might be interested to know that a number of countries, Germany, for example, and Spain, have worldwide jurisdiction for alleged crimes against humanity or violation of war crimes. And coming from a prior era, you might want to, I don't know if you guys know this, but the French executed a warrant against Donald Rumsfeld for crimes committed in Iraq. And by the way, they almost caught him. He was in Paris, and he made it to the American embassy before they could nab him. And then he was, I guess, helicoptered home, something unofficial thing. So the thing is that the people that are doing this, even though we, that is the United States, and to our great shame, may not prosecute these crimes, other countries might. And there's a number of American politicians who were involved with what happened in Iraq, the terrible conditions at Abu Ghraib prison and all those things, who have dared not leave the United States since then because they're subject to warrants for, international human rights warrants from other countries. it's just interesting to note that now the Geneva Convention and other international covenants on human rights are not only enforced by one country's jurisdiction, but a number of countries, and I'm citing Spain and Germany because the two I can remember off the top of my head, have universal jurisdiction for these crimes.
Okay, that's fascinating. Are we at war, Michael?
It doesn't matter whether you're at war or not. The thing is that if there's military action of any type, the conventions apply. I mean, you can call it war, or you can call it what does Putin call it? A special military procedure. The conventions still apply nonetheless.
At what point do you call it murder? At what point do you just call it murder?
Well, the point is that that's essentially what the conventions are calling it. A war crime, that involves death. Remember, there's war crimes that involve simply torture. It is by definition murder. So, yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. And the people who ordered it and carried it out are potentially responsible for it.
Do you think
before any court of law that is willing to bring it under its jurisdiction?
So even if Trump pardoned Hegseth, he would still be liable.
Yeah, I don't think he'd want to go on a vacation to Spain or Germany anytime soon. Assuming that those countries assume the warrant. I mean, in the sense that they say, look, this is part of ours. And by the way, it works both ways. For example, for a number of the crimes that were committed under the Franco regime, believe it or not, it was the Argentinian courts that began the process supposedly to extradite certain persons because, of course, they had committed crimes against Argentines who were living in Spain. So this is a worldwide matter. And those people who have committed those things or who can be prosecuted probably should be mindful that even if Trump pardons them and the United States does nothing about that, other countries just might.
Michael, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Remember, and remember, there's one other thing I want to point. There is such a thing as the Inter-American Court of Human Rights and the Inter-American Convention on Human Rights. That tribunal, especially since this involves Venezuela and/or Colombia, could bring something. And I'll shut up now and let you guys get
Michael,
on.
don't go anywhere, though. Do me a favor. Stay on the line. One of our producers wants to chat with you, so stay with us. But thank you very much for calling in and sharing that. Brings a lot of good clarity to a subject that we don't know that much always about. I do also want to say that in our little chit-chat there, we may have made reference to a blanket statement about Trump administration having nobody qualified in it. We in no way mean that. There are questions of qualifications in all differing varying degrees to every kind of office that are held. So I just want to clarify that we realize that there are differing levels of experience.
Well, and the Senate confirmed. So whatever we think, this United States Senate said they're good to go.
It is disturbing. It's going to be interesting to see how all these cases work their way through. But like I said a minute ago, it's going to be a rough week for Pete Hegseth, I believe, and we're getting close to the end of it. New information's coming out. Quickly, before we run out of time, it's very important that we remind everyone early voting is currently going on in the city of Houston for City Council at-large position 4, which means everybody is able to vote in this one. It's not just a closed-off area. And also the Houston Community College Board of Trustees District 2 race is continuing. This all goes on through December 9th with Election Day on the 13th. So remember, in this area, you can go anywhere to vote. So go there and vote.
Those Saturday runoff elections just seem to get nobody to go.
Right. So do it now while it's open voting, and we'll figure it out. A little bit later, we're going to be talking about Spotify has released its, each of us get our own lists of what we've listened to over the years. If you haven't gone to Spotify and looked yet, go take a look. See, you'll be surprised. A little earlier, Tiffany and I were talking about it, and we have skewed rather old when it comes to who we are according to listening. We will talk about that coming up.
Define rather old, would you?
We're not going to do it yet. You have to hang on to find out how old our musical tastes really are.
It just feels old already, doesn't it?
It's Ernie.
And it's Ernie. It's also, talking days of the week, December 4th that we're at, it is Santa's List Day. This celebrates the day that Santa compiles his list of naughty and nice children. I didn't know there was a day he did it on.
Lump of coal, Ernie.
I know. I should have been good yesterday. It's kind of like when you go to the dentist, like that day you go that you really brush
your
really
teeth.
well.
Yep.
That's what I try and do right before December 4th from now on.
But coming up on Hello Houston, there are a whole new slate of laws going into effect this month. And Mark Jones from Rice University is going to join us to break them down. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have been proud supporters of public radio and TV for decades.
We really would be lost without our daily fix of unbiased national and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
Probably have opinions on whether or not you should share your location with your friends and family.
That man does not need your location.
This week on It's Been a Minute, we're weighing the pros and cons.
And on Wildcard, author Jason Reynolds on being a big crier.
I am a crybaby of all crybabies. It is my favorite thing about myself.
That's on Wildcard, and It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Next time on The Pulse, Neil Shea was in the Canadian Arctic staring at a pack of white wolves, and they were staring at him.
They treat you more like equals. They understand that they are the reigning predator of the landscape, and now you have to explain to them, why are you here?
We'll talk to Neil about his travels in this beautiful and fragile part of the world.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, at 7, Magic Moments presents the best of 50s pop with host Pat Boone and Phyllis McGuire. Then at 9:30, it's the special all-new rock, pop, and doo-wop. Tonight on TV8.
Support comes from Stages, presenting It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play set in a 1940s radio station with live sound effects and on-stage storytelling that celebrates connection and hope. Now through December 28th. More at stageshouston.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
As Texans ring in the new year, a new wave of state laws is about to take effect, touching everything from schools and law enforcement to immigration, taxes, and even which public spaces people can use. It's a wide-ranging set of changes that could affect daily life for millions across the state. To help us break it all down and what's coming at us, and it's coming at us fast, we're joined by Mark Jones, professor of political science at Rice University. Mark, welcome to Hello Houston. If you'd like to join the conversation out there, you can call or text us 713-440-8870. Mark, tell us what we need to know.
Well, so normally most legislation goes into force on September 1st of odd number years. That's what comes out of the regular legislative session. Of course, this year we had two special sessions, the first of which they didn't get much done because of the quorum break, but during the second of which they passed quite a bit of legislation. That all goes into effect, most of it. There are a few things wait until January, but most of it goes into effect today, December 4th.
Oh, wow.
So one piece of legislation that a lot of people are paying attention to is House Bill 7. That allows any individual to sue anyone who manufactures or distributes abortion drugs like mifepristone to people in Texas. Now, those who take the drug can't be sued, but if you facilitate, say, getting abortion pills to a woman here in Texas, you could be sued for up to $100,000, and that could also potentially affect people who are outside the state, such as companies that send those pills to people here in Texas. It's not
so the
clear
state can
how
sue.
that would work jurisdictionally.
Yeah, the state can sue outside of our state. Do they have?
Well, it's not the state; it's individuals.
An individual can sue.
This law is very so it's very similar to legislation that was adopted prior to the Dobbs decision that allowed people to sue those who were involved in an abortion past 6 weeks. This one does the same thing through the provision of abortion drugs. It's not clear how in many ways, it's reminiscent of what we often refer to as trap legislation that was adopted during the Roe v. Wade Casey era, where you couldn't ban abortions, but you could adopt legislation that made it more difficult to obtain an abortion as long as you weren't totally infringing on that right. What this legislation tries to do is make it more difficult for women here in Texas to obtain mifepristone and other abortion pills if the goal of using those pills is to carry out an abortion.
So when you say distribute, you're not talking about the postman who may deliver the drug to an address, right? I mean, that would be ridiculous.
Well, they would have to knowingly be doing it, but it's the person who sends it could do it, could be sued, as well as if, say, there was a person in Texas who received those pills and then gave them to someone who then used them. That would be a violation as well, so they could be sued.
And the 100,000 is if you are related to the fetus. If you are not related to the fetus, it's 10% of that, from what I understand.
Well, yeah. So you get to keep 100,000 if you're related to the person of the baby that's being aborted. But if you aren't related to them, then you get to keep 10,000, but then you can give the other 90,000 to a charity or nonprofit of your choice.
What if you're the father? So I guess you're related to the fetus, not the person.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So you have to be related to the fetus.
A father would get 100,000.
Yeah.
But if it was, say, a neighbor or just somebody who was watching, sort of a non-relative, then the maximum they could personally pocket would be 10,000. However, they could then give 90,000 to a nonprofit or charity, including one that they were involved in.
Do you think it's bounty hunting?
I don't know if it's bounty hunting. I think the design of it is, the overall goal of it is to reduce the number of abortions that take place in Texas. And that's the way that's carried out is one by making some people who currently send abortion pills, mifepristone and others, or mifeproxil, to people here in Texas. This legislation may give them a second thought about maybe they shouldn't be doing it. So the supply from outside the state might essentially be reduced. And then within the state, presently, there are individuals who will essentially serve as sort of distributors for the abortion pills. They get them and then they help people get a hold of them. Those people may also begin to think about that this is perhaps not something that they want to be doing. So the overall impact would be to reduce the supply of abortion pills to women in Texas. And we know that presently a majority of the abortions that are taking place in Texas are taking place via mifepristone.
So
that is, and that's of women in Texas. That includes the options of, say, traveling outside of the state.
So does that include the Plan B pill?
I do not believe it's Plan B, but I do not know.
Because you don't know if you have a viable fetus the day after, right?
I don't think it's Plan B, but I would have to look more at the legislation. I know the intent of the legislation is focused much more on mifepristone, so I believe that's the real mifeprostol. Those are the real focal points. So I think that would be and it's still legal to use those drugs so a doctor can prescribe them and they are protected under this. A woman can use them and they're protected. There is no penalty for the person who uses it. So if a woman obtains mifepristone and performs self-abortion medically, then there is no penalty. It would be for the people who gave her that medication.
Mark, as we're discussing this, over 800 laws have already gone into effect this year from the regular legislative session. We're talking about the new ones from the special sessions. When we're looking at and listening to this type of legislation that is pretty aggressive, would you say the majority is like this aggressive? And how hard is it to reverse this type of legislation?
Well, all legislation has effects. It's just, what the effects are. So in terms of the overall impact, the actual number of people affected by this legislation is relatively small, But for those individuals, it could be potentially very consequential. So, with any legislation, there's sort of the overall reach of it. That is, how many people does it affect? And then when it does affect somebody, how intensely does it affect it? This is a bill that doesn't affect many people, but for the people it does affect, it's pretty intense.
See, I would think that this bill would affect quite a few people in the fact that, here we are once again imposing legislation around women's health.
Well, it affects anybody who is attempting to perform or obtain a medical abortion, which is a relatively small share of the Texas population. But for those people who are attempting it, it's very consequential.
Let me go a little broader here on all of this that's going into effect. The thing is, all of us were talking about the 17 propositions that were on the ballot that we voted for in November. How many of these, are these all the ones that are going into effect in the beginning of January, or are they going into effect today?
Well, today we're dealing with a lot of legislation that was approved during the special session. So it's not as many. It's some of the bills from the propositions. For instance, there's House Bill 7 that increases the deduction for personal or for business inventory and property from $2,500 up to I believe $250,000. That's a piece of legislation. I think it's 250,000 or no, 125,000. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's legislation that was approved by the vote and will take effect on January 1st, not today. But it's very consequential in that while school districts are going to be reimbursed by the state for the lost revenue, cities, counties, hospital districts are not. So that's going to be a tax hit for, say, Harris County, or for the Harris County Hospital District, that they're either going to have to make do with less revenue or increase the amount of increase their taxes in order to make up for that difference. Because while the legislature is keeping ISDs whole, they are not keeping other taxing units whole.
So I guess the bigger point in all of this is when we see all those propositions on the ballot and we haven't really prepared or read about them and we just kind of glaze past them, this is when they start to impact us and why we need to pay attention to these propositions when we see them on the ballot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and the biggest one is that they increased the homestead exemption, and that goes into effect as well. But so all of those, the things that are approved in November take effect usually in January. Sometimes a little earlier, but normally they take effect in January.
Yeah.
So ivermectin will now be allowed to be sold without a prescription. That's what? Who in the world came up with that? What's the motive?
Well, so they're within the Republican Party. There's, especially during the COVID era, there became an increasing demand for ivermectin and a belief that ivermectin is useful against a wide range of maladies, including COVID, but that it was difficult for people to obtain. Now, what this legislation does, either makes Texas the 6th state or the 7th state that allows people to get ivermectin without a prescription. You'll still have to ask the pharmacist for it, so it'll be kind of like the Sudafed, things that people often use to make meth, that you have there, that's kept behind the counter, so there's shoplifting, but you won't need a prescription for it anymore.
So I do want to look at House Bill 26, which will allow Harris County sheriffs and constables to enter into contracts with homeowner associations, school districts, and municipal utility districts to provide additional policing. Was that something that was not already happening?
That's already it was already happening, but there was a threat by mostly Lena Hidalgo, Rodney Ellis, and Adrian Garcia to a lesser extent that they might start to place restrictions on the ability of the constables in particular to sign these contracts. And so the fear that the constables had, and all of the constables, Democrats and Republicans, supported this legislation, their fear was that that the county might be able to effectively intervene and sort of pick and choose which contracts they allowed, which contracts they didn't allow, as well as affect the terms of those contracts. And those contracts are very lucrative for the constables. The constable, anytime you see people out there directing traffic or providing private security or patrolling neighborhoods, those are often by these constables as part of these contracts. And this is always the neat legislation that this is something that happens with the Texas legislature quite a bit is it was designed solely for Harris County. So it only applies to Harris County, but you can never name a county by name in terms of legislation. So it's counties with a population of greater than, I think, 3.3 million is what the legislation says. And that, of course, only applies to Harris County. But this is a direct reaction to an effort by the Harris County Commissioners Court, the Democratic majority there, that was talking about, or at least contemplating, placing much greater restrictions on the ability of constables to sign these types of contracts. So this pretty much just locks in the status quo and means that the Commissioners Court will not be able to affect these contracts in the way that at least it was being proposed by the county judge and some of the county commissioners.
But then I have to ask, why would this be on top of mind for the county, judge and commissioners if they potentially thought there wasn't an issue happening between the constables and the contracts?
Well, I think I think the view was that it could be a source of revenue for the county, or that the county could by restricting the constables would reduce the revenue flowing there. In theory, it could have been something that the county, and certainly all other counties continue to have this ability. So there we have 254 counties in Texas. The other 253 have the same ability to place restrictions on this, but Harris County does not. This is just, it's another example of, with the leftward trend on Harris County Commissioners Court over the past few years, we've seen a reaction at the state level to push back and restrict things. So Harris County tries to do something or does something, say 24-hour voting sites, or try to provide a universal basic income program. And the state reacts, in part because Harris County is the largest county and the most visible county, but it's also the home county of of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and the Lieutenant Governor follows the county a little more closely than he does the other 253 counties.
Mark, Senate Bill 8, the bathroom bill, comes with egregious fines, $25,000 for the first, $125,000 for the second. Who in the world is going to enforce this?
The way the law is set up, they're going to primarily rely on complaints by individuals about the school, whether it's the school district, the county, the city, the university, not enforcing the legislation that prevents people from using bathrooms, changing rooms, etc., that don't match their biological gender. So they're going to rely pretty much on people reporting for self-enforcement. Then the Attorney General would eventually be the one that would get involved in investigating, or the Office of the Attorney General will get involved in investigating and levying the fines. The way the legislation's set up, institutions will first get a warning, and if they don't put into place a plan to ameliorate the situation, that's when the fines can start to kick in. Now, individuals will not be affected. That is, there is no fine or penalty for a transgender person using the restroom that matches their identity rather than their biological sex. But there is a penalty to the school district or the university or the city, the county, if they are essentially not enacting policies to prevent that.
Well,
and so the enforcement's going to be complicated, but I think the major effect will be that it will at least require these institutions to have formal policies that prohibit transgender people from using restrooms or locker rooms that don't match their biological sex.
So when you say using, can you at least go in?
No.
You can't go in at all. Right. So we're going to need...
There are some exceptions, like if it's a paramedic going in, if it's a child 9 years or under, if it's someone going in to clean. So there are some exceptions. But if you are, say, going to use the restroom that would be a violation.
I was honestly thinking about fixing your makeup. I mean, if a person wanted to go in and just use the mirror and not use the restroom.
No, that would be a violation.
That'd be a violation.
If you're in the restroom, it's a violation.
We're going to need cameras on all the restrooms in order to enforce this, to be able to say they actually went in and used it. Otherwise, it's your word against mine.
Well, yeah, I think you're going to get complaints, and then so an individual, let's say it's a parent at a high school or a student at a high school, complains that the school has a policy that allows transgender students to use the restroom that matches their identity. Then they would complain, and then it would be incumbent on the school district to show that they don't have that policy. So in terms of in practice, it may not change a lot, but what it will change are any formal policies. It'll be very difficult, if not impossible, for a city or a county or a public school or a public university or a city or a county to have rules that allow transgender people to use whichever restroom they wish to use, unless it's a unisex bathroom.
Mark, in wrapping all of this up from your political science point of view, I'm curious, looking at the broad swath of these laws, do you see a coherent ideology or governing philosophy under the 2025 wave of legislation, or is this more of a patchwork of reactive, interest-driven lawmaking?
And it's a mixture. So you have some things like the constables here in Houston that was very reactive to something that Commissioner's Court was doing. But then you have other things such as the restrictions on the allowing people to sue in terms of abortion pills, as well as the bathroom bill, that are very ideological. And that's often what we find with special sessions. So one of the dangers one of the things that often occurs in special sessions is legislation that people were able to block during the regular session passes, because during the regular session, the House in particular could block the bathroom bill and could block the restrictions on abortion pills, because there's so much legislation going on and being discussed that you could essentially say, well, we lost track of time. There were delays, but it's easy to hide things and not pass legislation during the regular session because there's so much going on and it all has to be done in such a short period of time. That's much more difficult in a special session because there you have a very limited number of pieces of legislation and the spotlight is very clearly on you. So activists and supporters of that legislation can really lobby hard, and there's no place to hide. And similarly, the governor is put in a position where, whether he wants to or not, he probably needs to put the legislation on the agenda, because implicitly, if he doesn't put it on the agenda, that will be seen by these groups as him actively blocking it. Because during the regular session, the governor can say, hey, it never reached my desk. Yeah. During a special session, though, if the governor doesn't put it on the special session agenda, the legislature can't discuss it. But once he puts it on the special session agenda, it gets very difficult, or much more difficult, for those, particularly in the more moderate Texas House, to block it, because they did block the bathroom bill and they did block the abortion pills during the regular session, but they couldn't do it in the special session when the spotlight was on them and it was too bright.
Yeah. Mark Jones is a professor of political science at Rice University. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
And coming up on Hello Houston, it's one of our fan favorites, a segment called Our Current Obsessions. Woohoo! So be sure to get yours ready right after the break. So stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Recently, it's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
What's happening in Congress? Well, this is something that is going to be tough to defend in an election year. And that's assuming it even passes, which it might not.
Imagine you could listen in.
And then what about the Senate? The bills are just rocketing out of the chamber. Have they gone too far? The House might say, well, wait a minute.
Well, you can. Party Politics with Brandon Rottinghouse and Geronimo Cortina. Fridays at 7:30 p.m. on News 88.7, at 8 on TV8, and on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support for Houston Public Media powers the programs you trust and rely on. And your employer may help your contribution go even further. Many employers sponsor matching gift programs, doubling or even tripling employee contributions. It's an easy way to maximize your impact on the programs you rely on. Search for your company and get started today at houstonpublicmedia.org/match.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Houston Symphony, presenting Handel's Messiah, a cherished holiday tradition of beauty, inspiration, and joy. December 5th through 7th at Jones Hall. Tickets at houstonsymphony.org. Houston Public Media presents The Moth Grand Slam, December 16th at the Heights Theater. Doors open at 7 p.m. It's the Grand Slam Championship, a battle of wits and words. Tickets available at houstonpublicmedia.org/themoth.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to Hello Houston. It's now time to dive into our current obsessions. This is that rundown of things that you have to you're obsessed with. You keep going back to it, right?
Yeah. You know what? You know how I love animals?
Yes.
Spotless giraffes.
Ah.
You haven't done an animal
You haven't done an animal in a while.
We haven't done current obsessions in a while, or I was out. I was out one Thursday when y'all did them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kipiki was born a couple of years ago. It's a genetic mutation, right? And so you're just all brown, like this really pretty brown giraffe.
Beautiful.
No markings, no spots. And Kipiki was born a couple of years ago and died just recently, unfortunately. I know, that was sad. But it was before Kipiki, it was like in Japan in 1972. So this is so rare to get a giraffe without spots. But if you'd like to see Kipiki, you can just Google giraffe, spotless giraffe, and you'll see it. But anyway, sort of precious.
You know, I don't really have a current obsession right now just because I feel like life is so busy, but
And your birthday's over.
And my birthday's over. And
It's just
today
your son's birthday
Philip's
today.
birthday.
She's not
But
real.
I do feel like based on my Instagram, the algorithms, I feel like I know a lot of other people's obsession right now, and that is the Spotify Wrapped 2025. It's one of the top trending items online. I'm sure everybody's posting theirs. 2025 Wrapped Global Top List. Top artist, Bad Bunny. Number one.
Bunny. Wow.
Number 2, Taylor Swift.
You know what? I'm surprised it's not flipped, actually. I would have thought
Interesting.
I would think Tay-Tay would be number one.
No, she's
Where's Benson Boone on that? He's my
Benson
obsession.
Boone.
He's not on
He
the
didn't
top
make the
10.
list.
Well,
he didn't make
then
the top
that's a
10.
stupid list, okay?
Number 3, The Weeknd. 4, Drake. 5, Billie Eilish. 6, Kendrick Lamar, which is interesting because there was a big feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. So,
which probably lifted both of them.
yeah. And Bruno Mars coming in at 7, 8, Ariana Grande, 9, Arjit Singh, and 10, Fuerza Regida. So there you go.
But you know what's even more fascinating is when you go to this list for yourself, if you're on Spotify, I think Apple Music does it too, it will tell you what your listening age is by the choice of artists you have chosen and listened to over the years. Tiffany and I were talking about this earlier when we did the tease before we came on. Tiffany, how old is your listening age?
My listening age is it's 83, Ernie. That is a 50-year difference from my actual age. I will tell my age on air. I don't care. But yeah, it's a 50-year difference. And I blame the fact that I planned the most beautiful, timeless, classic wedding back in February.
Well, I didn't plan a wedding, and I'm not that far from you. My average listening age was 80.
Yeah. 80. I'm older than you?
Yeah, well, listening-wise, you are.
Yeah.
My last concert was Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson.
Clarkson. See, I didn't even know her name.
Grandpa forgot her name.
Well, Kevin made me go. So.
You know, I
Did
don't
you get
even-
your listening age?
I have not gotten my listening age.
Celeste.
I share my Spotify with pretty much my 9-year-old daughter, Evelyn, and with Dan. So it's probably all over the place.
You could skew younger. I share it with my mom. I turn on Spotify when I put her to bed every night, and so that brings us
I don't
up
even
to the
have
80.
Spotify. So what age am I?
ancient.
How would I find it, Ernie? I don't even
Just
know.
when you open up
7-year-old
Spotify. Here, hand
Celeste.
me your phone. I'll find it.
I share it with her too, and so
You
mine
get
is
it.
very skewed. I get it.
Yes.
Yes. But we want to hear from you. 713-440-8870. Join us and let us know your current obsessions. We've had a couple come through. Toxic Talk, Good Music. I'm obsessed with Diddy, The Reckoning on Netflix. Couple of
What are these Dubai chocolate cookies?
Dubai
Have you heard about
I
these?
have
Yes.
Dubai
Nobody can
chocolate
find 'em.
syrup for my coffee. And that's what I had today. It's
delicious. Dubai chocolate went viral this year, I would say. This summer, really. It's this, it's prosciutto, and they put pistachio, and they put chocolate over it. Jim's laughing at me because I said prosciutto. Clearly, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And
That'd be weird.
it's delicious, and they have Dubai strawberries, and it's a whole thing.
The whole thing.
It's a
Well,
whole
that's an
thing.
obsession of one of our
You know,
listeners.
to go back to my Spotify, no surprise here, of my top 5 songs, 4 of them were Eurovision songs.
No
That's
surprise
surprising.
there.
And that means none of us have heard them.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last album I bought was
Macchiato.
Evita. So.
Espresso Macchiato was number 1, talking of coffee.
I love it. Top podcast globally per Spotify. Number 1, The Joe Rogan Experience. You surprised?
Well, James Tallarico put himself on the map by going on that.
Yeah. Well, he first put himself on the map when he came on Hello Houston.
You know it.
Which you can go to.
Go on. Yeah.
You can go to YouTube to see
say
all of
so.
our interviews with James Tallarico.
We've had 3 with him.
My top podcast, which I don't listen to podcasts because we're always making a podcast. You can hear us there. We're not done yet. The Knots Landing ladies have, and that's my number 1 most podcast, and I don't even listen to it.
Top
I don't listen
podcast
either.
globally. Number 2, The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett.
Oh, wow.
Number 3, The Mel Robbins Podcast. Number 4, Call Her Daddy. Number 5, This Past Weekend with Theo Vaughn. 6, Huberman Lab. 7, Crime Junkie. 8, Modern Wisdom. 9, On Purpose with Jay Shetty. And number 10, The Tucker Carlson Show.
I'm surprised
Interesting.
Tucker Carlson is number 10. I thought he had kind of fallen from attention for a while there after he visited Russia and was so impressed with their grocery stores.
And then he got in the argument with
I'm
Ted
surprised
Cruz.
Smartless didn't get on that list. The Sean Hayes podcast, Smartless.
I am shocked Hello Houston's not on that list.
It will be.
You can download or subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. Just look for Hello Houston. We have both the full show and the commuter cut, which is a 40-minute version of this very show. You can listen to it on your commute home.
We also
There's my
have
plug.
one here. MK Ultra 6911, current obsession, not using the AC.
Yeah. Along with that, Earl Grey Tea says the weather. It's beautiful and amazing and chilly.
I love it.
People do love the weather. You know, I've made an entire career off of that.
Were you obsessed with it for a long time,
I don't
Frank?
use the AC, but I've told this one I don't turn on the heat either.
Oh,
You're one of those.
I'm one of
not
those.
I'm not one of those.
Yeah, no. You're cold, put a blanket
How does your
on.
90-year-old mother feel about that?
She can't tell me, so.
Ooh, listen to this. Sean
sounded
Radigan, current
harsh.
obsession, absolutely fabulous. The British comedy classic
my God.
on YouTube.
Sean, I love you. I love Ab Fab. I go back to it every so often for just there are moments there. A lot of my friends do not follow Ab Fab, and I use quotes from it all the time in my speech, and they just think I'm witty and so clever. If they discover Ab Fab, I'm finished.
I discovered it in the 80s.
Yeah.
Did you?
Ab Fab about 1985.
The year I was born, that was 40 years ago.
I was a while back. I thought it was hilarious.
85 doesn't feel like that long ago.
It doesn't.
For some reason, I feel like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it was for you.
But again, 713-440-8870. We keep getting more current obsessions. Let's see, Frank, what are we seeing here? We've been obsessed with our online name, and it feels like we finally got it.
I know. Sounds like it's going to be the YouTubers.
The YouTubers. I love that one. So
I
on
like
YouTube, you could be a YouTuber by joining us on Hello Houston
But
on
it's
our
a
channel
YouTuber,
every day.
not a YouTuber.
YouTuber.
A YouTube YouTuber. Okay. Yep, that's what we're getting. It's YouTubers.
Let's see here. My current obsession is the large political signs in Galveston. Are these old? Why are they still up? Who do I call to take them down? That's Julie in Galveston.
That was a Frank obsession.
That was a
while
Frank
there.
obsession. Frank brought that up a couple times, huh?
What, all the signs?
The signs.
Well, I mean, someone said to me, they leave all these signs up, but yet they're quick to cover over the gay pride crosswalks. So, who's doing what? Who's in control around here?
For a point of clarity, AbFab did not begin until 7 years after Frank discovered it.
No.
It began in 92, Frank.
But
no, I
you know what?
I saw when I lived in Biloxi. My friend brought videotapes from England.
It was released September 24th, 1992.
Okay. Yeah. We want to thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston. Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
But we'll be back tomorrow
with more conversations. Thanks for watching, listening, and joining us today on Hello Houston. As Ernie just mentioned, we're going to be back tomorrow, and it's Friday.
And we have Charles Dickens, great grandson. I don't know how many greats on that one.
Great.
We're also going to discuss Houston Methodist joining a massive lawsuit against several major insurance companies. So it's going to be a packed show. We'll see you tomorrow. This is News 88.7. Have a great Thursday.
So long.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from EDG Inc., celebrating 43 years as a global full-service engineering and consulting firm with dedication to faith and focus on character. From our offices domestically and worldwide, EDG wishes all a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year.
50 degrees at the University of Houston. I'm Tiffany Taylor. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston.